Okay, what do you do on your 10-hour break? Do you just sleep the whole 10 hours? Let's see. Hey folks. Okay, so I had a friend of mine I met on YouTube that he's looking to get into trucking. His name's Rick. Hello Rick, I know you're watching. I'm going to do something that he said that would be probably helpful to do for those drivers looking to get over the road. One of the things he said was it'd be good to point out, what do you do when you're on the road when you're not driving? And how do you manage your time and still get your sleep? So basically, you're going to shut down at hopefully a good truck stop. Sometimes it's a rest area, sometimes it's at the shipper or receiver, depending on what's going on and if there's availability. And then you basically have a 10-hour break. So you don't get 10 hours of sleep, because you don't just crawl back and go to sleep. There's a little bit of work to do typically. From a personal standpoint, I don't know if I'll do it on this video or another video, but Marco Polo is a great tool. So write down Marco Polo. If you're not currently using the Marco Polo app, it's a great app because it's like a video message that you can send out to your friends, or you can make groups of, I've got a group of certain friends that that are in the business. We stay in touch. It's been real helpful. We met at the training school, and it's about 4 of us. And we Marco Polo each other when we're trying to figure stuff out. So we're kind of like training each other sometimes. After the over-the-road training, there's still things you're going to run into that you did not run into while you were out during your over-the-road training. So we kind of help each other figure it out. And then there's the family Marco Polo channel that I have. So I set up a group of my wife only, or my wife and my kids. And I have a group of some coaches that I hang out with. So we keep in touch there. And the neat thing about the Marco Polo is you're able to send a message and leave it alone, and they'll pick it up when they have time, because you may be driving at 2 a.m. and you want to touch base with them, and you can do a Marco Polo and send it out there, and then they'll pick it up when they get about their day. It's a really handy tool. It's very helpful, because right now my shift is like the first shift. It's actually more like the third shift. I'm usually 4 a.m. to 2 in the afternoon, roughly, when I'm driving. So my wife that runs the business, she's more like second shift, where she's into the gym around 3 o'clock, and then she's not there till 9. So our schedules are not in sync at all. So we'll oftentimes just shoot each other a message here and there, just staying in touch. Now there is opportunity like today where I'm able to stop and do a phone call, make a couple calls, check a couple emails. So once you go on your break, you go ahead and hit 10-hour sleeper. If you do it the correct way DOT likes is you can show 2 hours off duty, 8 hours in the sleeper. That gives you 10 hours total break back to back. I just put mine in the sleeper. If you close off, as you can see, these are all closed off right here. It actually brings my sleeper. So technically, I am in the sleeper, even though I'm in the driver's seat. I'm not driving because I've closed off my curtain area here in the front. I am actually in the sleeper, so I am technically correct for DOT regulations. So sometimes, like yesterday, during my 10-hour break, usually you get about 2 to 3 hours of your own time that you want to try to get things done. Your trip planning, checking emails, calling into the home if you can. So real life situation yesterday, I went into sleeper. I was actually at the Atlanta terminal, but I didn't go home 50 miles away because I had to get up early and hit the road. So I just went to the terminal. I did my laundry. Took me about an hour and a half. I was in between. There was a show on AMC in the terminal I was watching. I think it's called the Green Mile or something. It's pretty interesting. So I got my laundry done. Sat there, folded it, threw it in the bag, brought it out to the truck, checked some emails, and I actually got a phone call right before I went to sleeper. I had a tree a big old Bradford pear, 20 plus feet in the air, sits out by my road. It just finally snapped in half. That's something that Bradford pears do often. So I talked over the phone with a neighbor, got it coordinated for somebody to push it out of the way until I could get on the phone the next day, which was today, and I got on the phone with my wife while I was driving, hands-free, and spoke to her about some of the options on getting some quotes to take care of that. So it's not easy to do things like that because you're not there, and you can easily dictate to other people to do things, but you're just making more work for everybody else that, in my opinion, I should be doing. But what are you gonna do? You're on the road, you're out here, so you're not at home, so you gotta take care of business that way. So during that 2 or 3 hours, you'll typically also have to find a place to get some dinner at the truck stop, or you'll make your own dinner if you've got a microwave and maybe a toaster oven. I've got a refrigerator now, but I don't have a microwave or a toaster oven yet. I don't mind getting something small. I don't eat very much. I don't mind getting something at the truck stops, but you can save a lot of money by doing some grocery items, keeping them in the refrigerator, make a sandwich or something like that. So, feeding yourself is something that's going to take time, and then you might get an hour where you can watch some Netflix or something like that just to kind of wind down. I do try to do that. It's sometimes, honestly, you're just so mentally tired from driving all day. You just want to shut down, get something to eat, crawl back in bed, and just go to sleep, and then get up in the morning and hit it hard again. So the time goes fast. You basically just have to make sure that when you get up in the morning, you're ready, got your coffee going or whatever, and hit the road and go. So you want to make sure your trip planning's done. I was doing some trip planning on this. Here, I've been shut down for 52 minutes now. So I'm coming into 1 hour off and doing the video. I checked some emails. I spent about 30 minutes trip planning, making sure I knew how to get into my location. And what I do is I'll use Google Maps to zoom in on it so I can actually see the satellite version of it. So I can make sure what street. I check my message on my Zonar. It's like a Qualcomm, as some people know it as, and see if there's any special instructions on where exactly to go when you're in there. And there was some instructions, so I noticed it's a different street. So I just observed that, made a note, make sure that when I get in, I'm looking for something called Hardy Street. The address goes to Ernstine, but it's actually on the corner of Hardy Street and Ernstine. So now that I know that, I'm comfortable. All I gotta do is get up, drive to the location, and it gives me a feeling of comfort knowing where I can park. It's basically inside Houston, pretty deep inside Houston, which surprises me for Macy's distribution center, but that's where it is. And I'll have to do some side of the road parking. I'll have to get out and walk to up to the shipper, but I was able to see all that on the Google map. So then I made sure that my Ram McNally was matching pretty much where I was trying to go, and I'm all set. So that took about an hour, roughly. And now I'm going to go into the, I'm at a truck stop service plaza in, I'm just northeast of Mobile at a place called Atmore, Alabama. So I'm going to go get something to eat, come back, and maybe watch a minute or two. Probably catch up on a few Marco Polos and then hit the sack. So you really don't have a lot of free time. There's not like a big social event outside any of these truck stops anyway. Everybody pretty much does their own thing. But, typically on a Saturday afternoon at 4:17 p.m., which is my time, it's 3:17 here Central. What are you doing at 3:17 on the afternoon of Saturday? I'm sitting at a truck stop. I didn't go to any football games, high school football games last night. No socializing at any bars with any friends. Once you're on the road, you're pretty much running 7 days a week. And then when you come on to your home time's going to be getting some things done that you didn't get done while you were there. So it's not always that relaxing, but it is nice to be home, sleep in your own bed, have a shower. That's another thing during about every 3 days, I'm getting a shower. So that takes about 30 minutes, really, 45, give yourself. But you can usually get in and out in 30 minutes. It's something I'll do every once in a while. When I have to do a 30-minute break, I'll try to time it, and I'll just grab my stuff and go in and try to get out. Usually about 35 minutes, and that's enough time for your 30-minute break, so you knocked out 2 things at once. So that's one of the things I'll do. So yeah, that's about it. That's probably some good food for thought for those who want to go out and drive over the road. Just remember, when you're out, when you're running 7 days a week, any downtime you have, you need to plan accordingly. Don't waste it. You want to be smart about it. The most important thing is to make sure that you're ready for your trip planning for the next day. That's a priority. Because if you just go that way, you're going to get in trouble. Because 70-foot vehicle is not easy to turn around if you don't know where you're going, and there's not the streets like the streets where I'm going down. There's not going to be any real room for turning around. I would have to drive past my destination, find a street to turn right, find another street to turn right, find another street to turn right, and hopefully eventually get back to where I meant to go. So you want to try to avoid those situations at all costs, because no matter how well you plan, sometimes it will still happen. That's trucking, as I'm learning. There's a lot of things when it doesn't go smoothly, you just say that's trucking, and everybody seems to acknowledge that that's how you're supposed to respond. Well, that's trucking. So hope that helps, gives you a little bit of insight of what to do when you're on your 10-hour break. I'm gonna go get me something to eat, and maybe catch up a little bit on Netflix and hit the sack. Have a good night.